let's get started. Can people hear me? Great. Okay, welcome to this seminar about the legal and ethical issues of AI. Before we discuss those issues, let me do a quick introduction of myself. I was born in China, and I came to New Zealand many years ago, and I studied law at Auckland University. And after that, I went to work at a New Zealand law firm for a couple of years before I moved to Hong Kong and worked at international law firms' Hong Kong offices. And then, because as a lawyer in Hong Kong, it's really difficult to have a work and life balance. So I decided to come back to Auckland and started my teaching career. Now, I'm going to show you this graphic, and you can see here, there's a tiny red dot, which represents the people who do research. And then you have the vast blue area that represent the people that feel qualified to talk about AI. And of course, I'm not doing any research on machine learning, algorithms, AI, etc. So I should belong to the blue area. But luckily for me, actually, what I'm going to discuss today is legal and regulatory issues of AI. And in fact, in terms of the laws of AI, that's something I have been doing research and doing teaching on for the past almost 10 years. So I'm very happy to have this opportunity today to share with you my views on those issues. Okay, let me quickly show you a couple of recent developments of AI. And we know that in terms of AI applications, one of the most talked about applications is driverless cars. Companies like Waymo, a subsidiary of Google, and also Tesla, they are all doing research or doing experiments on driverless cars. And a recent story caught my eye. And that is Tesla. They have been testing their full self-driving software for a number of years. And in April, on the 1st of April this year, they released the software to everyone in the US. If you have a Tesla car and you pay, say, $100 per month, you will have access to the software. And then, okay, I'm going to show you the story. Okay, as you can see here, a few days later, this guy, he had a minor heart attack in the middle of the night. Instead of calling an ambulance, maybe, I don't know, like maybe ambulance is too expensive in the US or for some other reason, he decided to use his Model Y, the Tesla car, to drive himself to a hospital. And indeed, the car did that. So you can see he was smiling happily in the hospital, and that's the car, Model Y, parked itself in the hospital car park. So that is a driverless car. What about robotics? Well, one of the companies that have been doing research or production actually in terms of robotics is Boston Dynamics. They have been building robot dogs, and they have also been building human robots. And the latest model is called Atlas. And they have just unveiled this robot a few days ago. And here is a very short video showing you capabilities of Of course, one of the most talked about AI applications that appeared in the past 2 to 3 years is large language models. You have several different models like GPT-4 that is from OpenAI. You also have Gemini that is from Google. You have a Llama that's from Meta or Facebook. Uh, Personally, because I am a legal scholar and everything I do is about the natural language. So I have a strong interest in natural language models or in terms of AI that can process natural languages. In the past, I have tried to use the then AI platforms to build a AI tutor for my students. And that was not very successful because the AI at the time was not advanced enough. However, given that now we have ChatGPT, and in fact, OpenAI, they have this platform where you can build your own bespoke GPT. So this GPT, you provide certain training material to this GPT, and this GPT becomes sort of like an expert in that field. And I have used that platform, OpenAI GPT platform, to build, I call it financial law tutor. That is, I have used it for one of my courses, and the feedback from my students is relatively positive. So that is something we need to. I mean, everyone actually is paying attention to. Of course, with this wide spread of with the wide adoption of AI technologies in our societies, it's bound to have many new and challenging legal and ethical issues. Things like liability. If something goes wrong because of AI, who should be held liable? What about AI has created some new inventions? Who owns that intellectual property? What about transparency and explainability in terms of AI making decisions affecting our rights and our duties? What about the discrimination, privacy, and also the issues about states or governments using AI to enhance their power and control and their capabilities to monitor citizens? So all those issues we're going to cover briefly in today's discussion. There are also other issues that we will not go into details today, simply because, well, not because those issues are not important, but because we just don't have enough time. Things like military use of AI. And in fact, in one of the courses I taught in the past about AI and law, and I posed this question to my students, like, do you believe, in your opinion, should we use AI for military purposes? And many students said, no, that is unethical. But one student, she is from South Korea, and she said, well, in her opinion, she believes that AI should be used for military purposes. And I asked her why, and she said because her brother is currently serving in the South Korea army, and we all know that there's like a ongoing threat of war between South Korea and North Korea. And she said she's quite very concerned about her brother's safety. And if we use AI, or South Korea government uses AI rather than humans for in wars, then that's going to save a lot of human lives. So you can see there are different perspectives in terms of this kind of issues. And then social impact. There's so many things we can talk about. Things like, I mean, for me, because I work in university, and assessment use students can use AI for assessment, for assessments, and that poses serious challenges for us educators as to how we can change our assessment model or method to cater for these new AI technologies. And also, many people are quite concerned with the fact that AI could replace humans for many jobs. And what about AI companionship? I mean, humans in future, very likely, or some humans may choose to form romantic relationships with robots. And we all know that even today, we have a serious birth rate problem in many countries like South Korea, China, Japan, and Italy. I mean, in future, if young people choose to not to marry, instead they just have this relationship with robots, that's going to be very challenging. And also, AI can greatly magnify the issues of misinformation and disinformation. So all those issues are quite serious and challenging. And the last one, of course, the most important one would be whether AI poses a threat to the existence of humanity. And on this issue, I mean, there are different views. Here, I give you sort of like representative views from each camp. For example, Jeff Hinton, he's one of the godfathers of AI, and recently he said he believed that, well, he used to be the chief scientist, AI scientist at Google, and he resigned. And part of the reason why he said he resigned from Google is because he feels like once he he doesn't work for Google anymore, he will be free to express his views on the risks of AI. And he said recently that there's a 10% chance that AI could wipe out humanity in the next 20 years. I mean, think about it. If there's a 10% chance that all of us are going to die, that's really serious. On the other hand, you have people like Yang LeCun. He is the chief scientist at AI scientist at Meta, and in fact, he won the he won the Turing Award together with Jeff Hinton a couple of years ago. So he's again one of the top AI scientists in the world, and he believed that the so-called superhuman AI is nowhere near the top of the list of risks because, well, it just doesn't exist yet. And in fact, he believed that it's not going to happen in the near future. So why should we pay time and money and resources on solving an issue that is not going to be in reality in the foreseeable future? All right. Because AI is giving rise to so many legal and other issues, and naturally, many governments or legislative bodies are thinking about or taking actions to address those issues. In particular, the EU, and I have to say, EU in this regard is very much the pioneer in the whole world. Like a few years ago, they passed the GDPR, and now they have just passed the new EU AI Act. Basically, under this act, it's a massive piece of legislation. It's over 400 pages. And under this act, AI applications or devices or systems are divided into 4 different categories. First, you have a category called AI applications that are or that have unacceptable risks. If an AI system belongs to that category, that it is banned. You just cannot. Sorry, I just got a message. Okay. You just cannot. Use AI. You just cannot deploy that kind of AI applications. But there are some exceptions. For example, governments can still use AI with this kind of risks for law enforcement purposes. The second category is called high-risk applications, applications that affect citizens' rights like employment, credit, health, etc. And the new AI Act imposes a number of stringent legal requirements on the people or organizations that run or own or develop those kind of AI applications. Then you have AI systems that only have limited risks. And under this new AI Act, as long as the people involved follow the transparency requirements, then they are fine. And finally, you have AI that only have a minimum risk, and those kind of AI systems are not regulated. All right, let's look at the issue of legal liabilities. Well, actually, I would say this is one of the easiest uh, legal issues regarding AI because under the current laws in many countries, we already have a robust system or legal system to address those issues. In essence, as long as the AI system is owned by someone or operated by someone, then that person, either a natural human being or a legal company, a legal entity, will be responsible if the AI system causes risks or harms to other people. There's a recent story which is quite funny. It came out I think about a month ago. And here, Air Canada, they used a chatbot, not a very good one, for to offer customer services. And one time, a customer asked a question to this chatbot about whether the customer can book a flight, and then later on, if the customer needs to change has to change flights, whether the customer can get a refund. And the chatbot wrongly said, "Yeah, you can get a refund." And then later on, when the customer did ask Air Canada to get them for the refund, Air Canada said, actually no, because that's what the chatbot said. But if you look at our terms and conditions or our policies on our website, it says clearly no, we are not going to give you a refund. Of course, as a company, you cannot do that. If you use a chatbot to do things, just like if you use a human being to do things, you need to be held responsible if the chatbot makes a mistake. So a small amount tribunal or court in Canada held that, yeah, Air Canada did need to provide a refund. And in fact, a few years ago, there was quite a bit of academic interest and debate among the issue of whether we should create a new concept, a new legal person for AI systems. And the idea is that because AI can do things by itself, is similar to a human being, so we should give AI legal personhood so that if AI does something wrong, the AI can be held responsible. The AI itself, as a legal person, can be held responsible rather than a human being or a company. That idea, again, I mean, if you pose this question to any serious legal researcher or people like me, the answer is clearly no. It just doesn't work. I mean, it can be done, but it wouldn't work. And in fact, the EU, at the time, a few years ago, they raised this idea of having a legal status for robots. They call this electronic person, and a set of draft legal rules, civil law rules on robotics. And once the draft was published, there was a serious opposition against this idea, and many AI scientists and legal scholars, law professors, they wrote an open letter to the EU saying that the need to create a legal person for AI is based on an overvaluation of the actual capabilities of even the most advanced robots and a superficial understanding of what AI can do. Basically, this idea just wouldn't work. And it's not really necessary, at least for now. What about intellectual properties? We all know that today AI can write novels, AI can create beautiful images, AI can make videos. So who owns the copyright? Or is there any copyright? Is the copyright recognized in terms of those AI-generated contents? Well, in terms of the copyright, the answer depends on where you ask this question. For example, if you are in the US, under the US law, there's no copyright protection for AI-generated works simply because AI law, the laws in the US require a human being to be the author of those images or writings. So if it is created by AI, then there's no copyright. However, if you ask this question in the UK or in Australia, in New Zealand, the answer would be yes. That's because under the copyright legislations in the UK, the law actually was made like 30, 40 years ago. But at the time, computers were already used or have already been created. So the lawmakers at the time decided to include a new provision in the Copyright Act to say that, well, if in terms of computer generated works, you can have the copyright as long as you are the person who put the arrangements together to use the computer to generate those works. So in other words, copyright is recognized in the UK and in some other countries. What about AI inventions? Well, the question is here that the answer is quite different. In the UK, there's an organization. Actually, there were two people behind this organization. One is a computer scientist, one is a lawyer. They created an AI inventor, and they use this AI to make some new inventions, like a new form of can for drinks. And then they use this new invention and they try to launch or apply for patent registration all over the world. And the idea is that they want to test the law of each country to see whether under the law of that jurisdiction, the AI created work can support a patent registration. And they have done that in many countries. And so far, only in South Africa, they have managed to have the patent registered. In all other countries, US, UK, China, Australia, New Zealand, their applications have been rejected. And mainly because under the laws in those countries, again, if you want to register a patent, a new patent, there has to be, under the current law, there has to be a human who is the creator or inventor of this patent. The patent doesn't have to belong to this human being, but there has to be a human being who created this new invention. And in fact, in a recent case in the UK, the judge or the court made it very clear that that is the current position, that is the current legal position under the law. However, the court says we are not seeing whether the law should be changed or whether patent should be recognized in terms of AI-generated inventions. We are simply saying that is the current position. Well, whether the law should be changed is not really our job to say, to give opinion on that. So that is intellectual property on AI applications. Well, let's talk about some more serious AI issues, legal issues about AI. One is transparency and explanation. Here, AI has a serious problem of transparency, and sometimes people call this a black box problem. The so-called black box problem actually has 3 layers. The first layer is this. Let's say I use AI to make a decision and to reject your loan application. And you ask me how this AI made the decision. What is the training? What is the algorithm? What is the training data set? And I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to tell you that. That is my intellectual property, or that's my information. I'm not going to give it that to you. So because I'm not disclosing the training data set or the algorithms to you, you do not understand how the AI or why the AI makes this decision. So that is the first reason, or the first layer of the black box problem. The second reason is this. Let's assume I'm a very transparent person. You ask me how the AI makes decision. I say, okay, here's the code. Here's the training data set. I use, say, a neural network to do the training and to make decisions. However, because the training data set can be gigantic and because the algorithms can be so complex, unless you are AI researcher, you as a normal person, a lay person, you will not understand anything about the things I just showed to you. So because a lack of expertise in AI, you do not understand how AI makes decisions. So that could be the second reason why there is a transparency problem. The third reason actually is the most interesting one. That is because of the nature of certain algorithms, in particular neural networks, many times, even though the AI is making very accurate predictions or decisions, we just don't know why. We know how because, say, I'm the creator of this AI application, so I know the training data set. I actually, assuming I'm a super good programmer, I actually write every line of code of this AI software. So I know everything. So I know how the decision is derived. However, I or other people cannot explain why AI can make such good decisions. There's a area of research, active research in the AI sector to figure out how we can explain why AI can make such good decisions. And in fact, if you think about ChatGPT and other large language models, why do they work? I mean, we know how they work, like you have the neural network, you have the transformer structure, etc. And then the AI can generate very human-like natural language text. But why? Why can AI do this? We have no idea. So that is the third reason why we have this black box problem. Here, I'm going to quickly introduce or give you the details of a US case that occurred a few years ago. That is Lumens against the state of Wisconsin. Lumens here, he was the defendant, and he was charged for a drive-by shooting, and he was a driver in that incident, and so he was charged. And in the U.S., many lower courts, district courts, they use this campus software to assess the risk of how likely a person may commit a crime again. Here, the campus, this system assessed that Lumens, the defendant, has a high risk of recommitting an offense. The judge then said in the judgment, and the judge actually gave a 6 years prison sentence to the defendant. And the judge said, I'm ruling out probation because of the seriousness of the crime and also because your history on supervision, and the risk assessment tools suggest that you are extremely high risk to reoffend. In other words, the sentencing decision is partially based on the assessment given by this AI tool. And Lumens appealed this decision. He said, actually, he appealed on 3 grounds, but we are just focusing on 1 ground here. And he said, there's a black box problem of campus. He said, campus, this software was created by a private company in the US. And this company said, this is our own software. So we are not going to tell you how this AI is trained and what is the algorithm for making decisions. As a result, Lumen says, because I do not have access to that kind of information of this software, I cannot check whether my assessment, the high risk score, is accurate or is correct or not. As a general rule, like if a judge decides I should have a higher sentence, the judge should give a reason. But in this case, the judge based his decision on the software, but I, the defendant, cannot check. Unfortunately, his appeal was rejected by the Supreme Court in Wisconsin. And the court said, well, even though I don't agree with the reasoning of the court, but the court said this, even though Lumens does not have access to the training data set of algorithms of campus system, he can check his own information that is provided by him to the system when the system needs to evaluate his risk score. In other words, Lumens needs to tell campus system, like, what is my age, whether I have committed crimes, when I committed crimes in the past, etc. And the court said, you can check whether that kind of information is accurate. So what is the solution for this kind of black box problems? Well, one solution that has been proposed actually in GDPR is that, well, how about we give a right of explanation to the consumers or to whoever that is being affected by AI decision-making process. For example, Loomis should have a right to explanation to be provided to him as to how this AI risk score is calculated. But we also know that from our just discussion, in some cases, no one, as far as I know, no one can actually explain why AI makes this decision. This decision, the AI decision, is not subject to human logic. So how about some people argue that, how about we give humans a right to opt out? In other words, if I'm the person, if I don't like the decisions made by AI, I should have a right to ask for a human decision maker to make a decision for me rather than using AI. So that is the second possible solution. Privacy. Well, over the past several decades, privacy is becoming a more and more serious concern among people. And indeed, because nowadays, we have so much personal data, and a lot of personal data is available online. So, we are naturally concerned with our privacy. And AI, the appearance of AI, has made this issue worse simply because most AIs require to be trained on a huge amount of data. And sometimes, a lot of times, that data set includes personal data. Therefore, there is a privacy issue. For example, I have my like pictures and my articles that are available on the internet. If you do a Google search, you should be able to find them out. But then if some AI company uses my image and my articles to train the AI, is that a breach of my privacy? Have I given the AI company consent, implied consent, when I decided to upload my information on internet? A second scenario actually is more challenging. That is, AI can be used to collect personal data. So it's not data from internet. It's not public information yet. AI can collect that information, personal information, and then use that information to make decisions or predictions. For example, this happened in New Zealand in recent times, and that is several supermarket chains in New Zealand are implementing facial recognition technologies to address the shoplifting problems. Well, in a sense, you cannot really blame them because shoplifting problem is becoming more and more serious. And if you report shoplifting to the police is not going to do anything about it. So how can supermarkets protect their legal interest? So they decided to use facial recognition technologies. So they have the camera stored on the at the entry point of the supermarkets. And if you want, whenever you go into the supermarket, your face will be scanned, and then your image, your facial image will be checked against a list of known offenders, the people who have done shoplifting before, or some suspects. And if there's a match, the supermarket will deny your access to the supermarket. Well, one of the legal issues, of course, is whether the customer or the customers have given consent to their facial images being collected for this purpose. From the supermarket perspective, they can argue that, well, look at our terms and conditions that are displayed on our website, or there's a notice board placed just very close to the entry point at the supermarket. By the very fact that you decided to come to our supermarket, you have given us consent for us to collect your facial image. On the other hand, if our customer, I can say no. I mean, the display of those terms and conditions is not prominent enough to constitute a valid legal consent. So you of course, you can argue about it from a legal perspective. But I would say from a policy perspective, probably we're going to come to a conclusion very quickly. That is, if there is a huge public opposition to these kind of technologies, then I'm sure the privacy commissioner or some other government agencies in New Zealand will publish like some guidance or a set of regulations to say that, supermarkets, you simply cannot do that. But then I would say the government should also tell the supermarket how they can address the issue of shoplifting. Another issue is discrimination. I would say many people, they love to talk about the issue of discrimination in terms of in the AI sector. For example, here I give you two examples. The top picture here is Google has at one time promoted a photo app that you can use this app or this app or this AI can automatically put your photos into different categories. So here, the users, they use this app to black people, and they use this app, and it turns out that this app put them or tag them as gorillas. So of course, there's a serious problem there. And the lower picture here, that is an incident occurred in New Zealand a few years ago. And in New Zealand, one of the things that the government has done, I think the positive things the government has done in the past is that nowadays, if you want to renew your passport or apply for a new passport, you don't have to physically go into any government agency. You just apply online. Like if, for example, if I need to renew my passport, I just upload my previous passport photo and my photo, like personal photo, and then the government will send me a new passport. So this gentleman here, he applied for a new passport, and of course, he also needs to upload a photo on the platform. And when he uploaded his photo, there was AI software checking whether the photo meets the passport requirements. And the software says, no, that this photo does not meet the criteria because your eyes are closed. And clearly, of course, you can see the eyes of this person are not closed. So there's another potential problem. Having given you those two examples, I would say, actually, I should add the word here, compared to human discrimination, the extent of AI discrimination is likely to be less and easier to rectify. And I'm going to explain why I believe so. Nowadays, because discrimination is such a serious issue, every AI company, every AI programmer knows about it. And when they design an AI program, I'm sure they have to be very careful to make sure that there's no discrimination issue. Secondly, if an AI app has a discrimination issue, it is very easy to fix compared to a human. I gave you two stories. Why I personally believe, in terms of AI, the issue of discrimination is not really that serious. One story is this. There's an AI researcher giving a public speech in London. She talked about how the judiciary systems in the UK could use AI. And then he asked this question to the audience. Let's assume we have an AI judge. And we also have human judges. Which one would you prefer? Do you prefer a human judge or an AI judge? Most, or probably all of the audience members said they prefer the human judge. And they said, the human judge understands the dynamics, has the common sense, whatever. And only one audience member said, oh, I actually prefer the AI judge. Why? The presenter asked him, why? And this person said, well, that's because I work in the courts. I have seen how those human judges make decisions. And then the story is this. Again, at one time, I asked my students in class, like whether they prefer, well, we know actually there was a story that came out about Amazon using AI to screen certain job applicants' resumes. And it turns out that this software has a bias against female applicants. And then I asked my students, like, in terms of job applications, assuming you are the applicant, you want to get this job, would you prefer to have a human HR to review your essay, review your resume, or AI? Again, most of my students said they prefer a human HR. And only one person said she prefers AI. Interestingly, she is a lawyer. She was a lawyer, and she has also worked as an AR for a company. A third reason why I quite often I hesitate to talk about AI discrimination is because look at the things happening in the US. There is a serious debate about exactly what is discrimination. In other words, if we humans cannot really figure out what is discrimination, how can we address the AI discrimination issue? All right. I believe actually all the issues I have talked about AI, all those legal issues, are really not that important. Either we already have a solution or it is easier to find a solution. In contrast, what are the more challenging issues? I believe the more challenging legal and also ethical issue is the use of AI by governments. First, state surveillance. Here I have a quote from Dr. Murray. He's a researcher in the UK, and he said this: what you could reveal about a population with huge resources is tiny in comparison to what you can achieve with facial recognition and other forms of surveillance technology. Look at what the US government is doing or has been doing in the past 20 years. If Edward Snowden hadn't told us about this, probably still today we would have no idea as to the extent of surveillance that is done by the US government agency, National Security Agency, NSA. Have they stopped doing that? The answer I would say is clearly no. Similarly, governments are cooperating, or some large tech companies are cooperating with the governments in terms of conducting massive surveillance in terms of online activities of citizens. And then in 2019, actually, there was a UK case just before the COVID-19. A person, Mr. Bridges, he is a political activist. He actually sued South Wales Police Department for the use of facial recognition technologies. The police department, they adopted this facial recognition or AI technology to scan the people who attended some defense exhibition events to find out whether there is some potential troublemaking people in the attendees, among the attendees. And Mr. Bridges, the plaintiff, he said that is against the law. So he sued. And the court said, at the time, the court said, the right to privacy can only be interfered by the government if it is done in accordance with the law. And then the court adopted a very narrow interpretation of in accordance with the law. The court said it doesn't mean the law says you can use. The law has to be very specific. The law has to offer adequate legal protection in terms of arbitrariness and also defines the scope of discretion. And the current legal framework in the UK at the time didn't provide those things. Therefore, the use of facial recognition by the police was unlawful. That was the conclusion by the court at the time. The problem of kind of cases like this is this. Who is the defendant? The government. The government can easily fix this problem by making some new regulations or guidance or code of conduct to offer the so-called legal protection. And then the government will continue to use AI facial recognition technologies. No matter whether the use of AI for surveillance purposes is lawful or unlawful under the current laws, the government can always make new laws to make it lawful. Using AI for surveillance purpose is only the first step, because using AI, the government can find out what citizens are doing or saying. The next step is that the government can use AI to control what you see and what you watch, what you see online, what things you can buy, how much money you can donate to an organization, which are the places you can go. The government can do all those things. And then, as long as you do this on a massive level, the government can easily manipulate public opinions, can affect voting results. For example, I give you a very simple, I'm sure that's not how things are actually done in real life. But this example illustrates the danger of using AI to affect voting results. Let's say in a country, we have two parties, Party A and Party B. And just before the election, an organization, it could be like a government agency or some political campaign group, they sent out voting reminders to people who are likely to vote for Party A. So if you are likely to be a supporter of Party A, you're going to receive this reminder. If you are a supporter of Party B, you may not receive this reminder. As a result, it's quite possible that Party A will have more votes compared to Party B. And finally, AI can ensure perfect execution of law. This is example in China. The government has cameras and use AI to find out whether a person has breached traffic laws. And if the AI decides that you are not following the traffic rules, the AI, let's say the fine is $500, the AI will then impose the fine and deduct that money from your bank account or your WeChat account. Everything is done by AI. So the law is executed in a perfect manner. One step further, of course, is that, again, this is a very simple example. Let's say, the speed limit under the law in Auckland is, say, 60 kilometers per hour. And currently, if my speed is above that limit, then of course I may be caught. I need to pay a fine. But what if using AI, some other technologies, all cars are automatically programmed in a way that you cannot drive above 50 kilometers per hour? So the law is enforced in a perfect manner again. The question, of course, is this. If that becomes reality, no one can breach the law. It may sound good at first sight, but a number of very famous legal scholars have made the argument that whether a person should apply the law or not is individual decision, because quite often the law may not be moral. And we, as a human being, we need to make a decision to decide whether the law is moral or not. If the law is not moral, we should choose as a moral obligation, we should choose to not to follow the law. But if the law is enforced by the AI, giving no opportunities to anyone to breach the law, then we have another serious problem. Takeaways, in my view, the biggest concern is that AI is changing the power balance before governments and citizens. All governments, they want to have more power, they want to have more power and control. That could be for good reasons or for bad reasons. And AI can help governments to enhance their capabilities to monitor and control what its citizens are doing or will be doing. Currently, we have the legal framework, we have the constitution, we have the separation of power, whatever, judicial review. All those mechanisms, they were created hundreds of years ago. And at the time, probably no one would have considered the possibility of governments using AI to enforce the law rather than using other human beings to do that. And if we don't do something about it, there's a danger that AI could accelerate the shift from democratic countries to authoritarian regimes. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and we have a few minutes left. I'm more than happy to hear your questions or your comments on the things we have just talked about, or you may have some views on other legal and ethical issues about AI. Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Ababi.
Thank you, Doctor, for your great presentation. I enjoyed. I have one question. Actually, I myself am working on AI tools in academic writing in ASEAN context. I'm from University Brunei Darussalam.
Yep.
I just found your topic relevant to my topic but I'm working on actually my research is related to AI governance in higher education specifically. And then I can see this part is missing actually when it comes to AI governance in higher education specifically, So generally, like this workshop seminar that I'm attending from by this one, WUN, Mahidol University, organizing by all proctors like you. So about that AI governance in education, do you know in like Auckland University or anywhere, do you know any project or anything going on, or do you have upcoming projects are related to this part as well, or now? That's my question. Yeah. Thank you.
In terms of research projects regarding AI governance, I must say my views about AI, particularly the use of AI, has become, over the years, has shifted from positive to now a bit negative or even cynical. In my view, we know that the governments will make regulations. You have the the lawmakers, the policy makers. They decide things, but then who drive the discussions? Is that really academic or the industry? Those big companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon, Tesla, etc. I don't know, to be honest. I don't really see how much influence these kind of research projects can have on AI governance. However, I do believe that AI governance, and in fact, today we only covered some AI related issues. There are a whole list of other issues, and I do believe that this is a serious issue that definitely requires serious public debate by everyone to be concerned, to engage, to make our voices heard by the lawmakers. And that's why actually I think raising public awareness of the potential risks and issues of AI probably is going to have more impact on the future of AI governance. And that's what I'm doing. Actually, I have been doing courses and seminars on those legal issues at different places. And hopefully, more and more people become aware of the seriousness of those issues, and then we will have more debates about a proper legal framework for AI governance. Sorry, I'm not sure whether I have answered your question properly, but yeah.
Dr. Benjamin, yeah, thank you for that. Actually, I'm working effective and ethical application of AI tools in academic writing, which is, quite, we can say, specific. We have higher level, for example, ethical use of AI in education, which is like a higher umbrella. Then AI governance, generally, that's like a bigger umbrella. I mean, this topic is quite new, actually, in this region, we can say.
Well, don't get me started in terms of AI in education and in AI research. Oh, by the way,
Yeah,
I don't know whether you have read this story. It's just so funny. You know,
yeah,
ChatGPT loves to use the word dev, DLVE.
okay.
I mean, only ChatGPT loves, like this word. I personally, I have seen many times ChatGPT, the answers use this word from my base
Yeah.
personal experiences. And then there's a research paper that came out maybe just 2 months ago, saying that the use of the word dev among published research papers, I forgot which discipline, maybe it's a social science, maybe it's a history, or maybe medicine. Anyway, the use of this word increased substantially from 2023 after ChatGPT was made public. In other words,
All right.
many are using ChatGPT to write legal research essays. And you also know that there are times where some authors they didn't pay enough attention to the AI generated text, just put it into their research papers, and then other people found out. So in terms of the ethical issues, well, actually, you could say policy and ethical issues. I mean, there are currently I would say, four different approaches or four different views on the use of AI for research writing. The first one is the most stringent one. I think it's adopted in one of the US universities. And their policy is that if you use ChatGPT to write a research paper, every time, every sentence that is from ChatGPT has to be noted. You have to put a footnote below to say, oh, this part is written by ChatGPT. So that is the first approach. The second approach is the more reasonable one. That is, if you use ChatGPT to write a paper, together with you, at the end, you need to make a disclosure. The third approach is that you can just use ChatGPT. You don't have to make any disclosure. And the final approach, actually, the final approach actually is the approach on the other spectrum. That is, you just cannot use ChatGPT or any other AI whatsoever. So for me, I don't think current law has the clear answer for the issue of plagiarisms in terms of researchers using AI to write papers. There is a clear answer, actually, under the Australian law in terms of university students using AI in assessments, and that is a clear legal breach of law. So for students, I think the position is clearer, but for researchers, the picture is more mixed.
Yeah, that's true. There are many things missing, which is ethical or unethical. We are not sure, actually. For example, if
Yeah,
we
yeah.
if we put our own data, I mean, for use those AI generative tools for paraphrasing, it's still we're not sure it's ethical or not unethical. It's like there are many things. That's my research about that. Yeah.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
those ethical rules, again, they were developed with the idea that only humans could write those things. But that's not the case anymore. Today, actually, I mean, of course, ChatGPT, even ChatGPT 4, they are really bad in terms of writing legal papers or legal articles. I know that. But in terms of students level essay, I mean, they are pretty good. So we have to address this issue one way or the other.
Yeah, thank you for that. Actually, uh, I'm trying to find the strategies or recommendations offered by students and lecturers both about the ethical use of AI, for
Oh,
academic writing. Yeah.
I can
Um,
share with you my personal
sure, sure.
experience. What I'm
Yeah,
doing here is that doing this in terms of certain assignments. I want students, it's a bit like a take-home exam or assignments. I want students, I encourage students to use AI because I believe that's what that's what they're gonna use in future once they go to the workforce, go join the workforce. However, in terms of certain assessments like exam, I actually ban the use of AI because that's where I want to test. I want them to learn how to do the legal analysis themselves. So I want to assess their capabilities. So again, online assessment wouldn't work. So in this case, I have recently switched to physical exam. They have to come to a physical place and they still use a computer, but they cannot use any AI. So that's my personal policy on AI, on the use of AI for assessments.
right. Dr. Benjamin, maybe I reach out to you maybe for interview another time. Okay, I will email you. Okay. Thank you for that.
Sure. Please do.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no further question, we're going to conclude our discussion. And I just want to say thank you very much for coming to this webinar. And hopefully in future, we will be able to collaborate on some of AI related projects. That's all. Bye.